Acts 17. It's this world system that we're in. They want to have, and the liberals in this country want to make everybody equal and everybody the same, as long as they think like how? Like they do. If you think like they do, then it's okay. But if you don't think like they do, then it's not okay. And we think, I think that we think the way we think is because if you don't have a lot of contact, you had contact outside the church before you got saved, then you got saved, you got into this new thing. And now all the people you know, generally know, are saved people. And myself, I didn't work outside the shop next door, so I didn't have a lot of contact other than owners and companies. So I wasn't mixed in with a lot of other people. So whenever I meet people that really are different than me, I mean, I'm literally shocked. You know, it's very shocking because I don't have that much contact with other people. I know in the morning I turn on that Fox News and then they play. They go through these music, like, what do they call it? Not bumper music. What would you call that startup music? They play a song. These people have gray hair.
You mean like their opening theme music?
Yeah, like a theme song. This is the next segment. And then they have a couple of gray hairs on there, and then you got a middle-aged one, you got a younger girl on there. And then he'll say, boy, I remember this when it first came out in 1990. And folks, it's pure noise. And then the girl said, I wasn't even born yet. And this is the song that did, and they're actually singing it. There's not even a tune. I don't even know how they can get a tune out of it. And these are the conservatives, the ones that think the way we think, conservatively, or let's say politically, as a general rule. Man, I don't have a connection at all. Zero connection. Yes, go ahead.
Just because you're politically conservative doesn't mean you're conservative in every manner of life.
Oh, I understand that. Oh, I'm in totally agreement with you.
You can party and rock and roll and do whatever and never see the inside of a church and be politically conservative.
Well, I do talk to the banjo instructor that we have that's instructing the girls, and he told me that the modern music, and when we say modern music, he means the 90s. He doesn't mean 1990. He means 1890. That style of music was now, I don't know how true it is. He said it was the longest, it's going to tie in with the sermon. I got to make this tie in somehow. That it was the longest run on popular or music of all time. It was popular forever. And it eventually then died out in the 60s with the Beatles. And that's when it kind of slowly died out. That was the most popular, most memorable, because it's actually music.
Yeah.
It's real music. And people can relate and connect to it. He said it was the longest run ever of music. But the idea here is, folks, we are different. And these liberals want to have us all be the same. It does appear here, I didn't intend to do this, but I thought I'd bring this music thing in verse 26 of Acts 17, did I tell you to turn there? And hath made of one blood all nations of men, for to dwell on the face of the earth. And that is what the Billy Grahams of religion love to quote, saying that we're all the same blood. I mean, we're not of ape blood. All men are connected that way. And see, we're all to be the same. And it says, and at the term of the times, but they won't quote the rest of the verse. And then we were taught early on, when we finally got into a Baptist church, and this is the hardcore, is we'll quote the rest of the verse. And that is appointed the bounds of their habitation. Meaning, at the Tower of Babel, everybody was separated. God did that separation. The devil didn't do it. God did the separation. God separated all these people, and the reason why he separated them was for the next verse, that they should seek the Lord, that they'll seek the Lord. And so the theory is that we're all going to get back together under one umbrella, the Tower of Babel. Now, the world's not going to say that. Is that this is all going to be love one another, we're all going to sing Kumbaya, and we're all going to follow the Lord. But in the end, it's going to be the Antichrist that they're following. And that's what it's getting it back to, is getting it back to the Antichrist. Instead of everybody seeking, that's why it's one big melting pot. That's the claim. And you could, now the Lord is very patient, and he moves along. We think at a snail's pace, but it's only been 2 days since, every 1,000 years a day. So he's moving along at his clip. We just don't pay attention. The lights are dimming, and it's getting that way. But God is the great divider. He's not a joiner together. Is God separated the darkness from the light? I remember what we were taught on this at Genesis 1. Is God divided the light from the day. He separated the light and the darkness. And I remember what the pastor says. And he said, and he's been dividing ever since. That there are divisions. That men and women are different. And so people are different. The gospel is now being preached here in Acts 17 on Mars Hill. And I thought we would begin at verse 31. And we would look and see the difference in the divide and the difference in people and how the gospel brings that about. Now, when we look at the topic is division. And my title tonight is Acts 17, verses 31 through 34, the gospel, the great divider. It is a divider, not a getter together. Now, in the church, we are to dwell in unity, right? Ephesians 4. But how many groups make up this world of individuals? Now, we're only going to look at a few of them. And some of these are overlapping. Some of these will be overlapping. But this group of individuals through here is called mankind. And it divides out in different groups, especially when the message is given, the gospel message. Father, bless the preaching tonight. It's all you're able to do now. In Christ's name, amen. Now we have all D words here that we're going to use tonight. I have 8 points. Because he hath appointed a day in the which he will judge the world in righteousness by that man whom he hath ordained. So, there's going to be this great day. Now, is this the great white throne judgment? We can include the judgment seat of Christ, but generally, there's this throne that's going to be there, and he's going to judge it righteously, because he can see right through a man, he knows exactly what's on the heart of men. It says, because he hath appointed a day in the which he will judge the world in righteousness by that man whom he hath ordained, meaning Jesus Christ, whereof he hath given assurance unto all men, in that he hath raised him from the dead. He has given assurance. Now this first group, I don't know if we want to be hyper-Calvinists about it, or in general, and say the possibility of all those if they had gotten saved. But those that are given assurance. So if you have been given assurance, you are dependent. So my first point are the dependers, or the dependents. Those that have the assurance unto all men, in that he raised him from the dead. So what is it that we have assurance of? At the judgment seat. And he has given them by the resurrection of the dead, that he was raised from the dead. So we have the assurance what? If Jesus came out, then we have the assurance that,
Will come out.
yeah, well, folks, we're not getting out on our own. We are dependers. We're dependent upon him. That's our first point. There is a group of people that are very dependent. How old is it when a child wants to become independent? Other than when they're first born. Yeah, you know what? Esther was over today and I was feeding her. I never feed her, I rarely feed her. She didn't balk at all. But if others do it, she could really be meh. And so she just ate without given a problem. But as a general rule, little children are very dependent on their parents, right? Very dependent. If God is our Father, I mean, we are dependent on him. Very, very dependent. And people are dependent on this world and this world system to see them through in different degrees. But folks, when we get on the other side, folks, what are you basing it on? Because everybody's going to get to the other side. Right? But what condition is it you're going to be in when you get to the other side?
Blood of Christ.
By the blood of Christ, right? Whereof he hath given assurance, this assurance to all men. I would assume all men that had gotten saved, is that what reference there? And that he hath raised him from the dead. Or the possibility is you could all have the assurance of salvation if you only got saved. But the idea is that there is a group of people that are fully and totally dependent on getting that not only to the other side, but in the right state. You don't want to end up in the wrong state. What's the wrong state here in this country?
West Virginia.
No, people go to West Virginia, they think they died and went to heaven. The wrong state's California, you know. And you don't want to end up in the wrong state. You know, when we say condition, lost condition, you're going to hell. Is you want to be dependent in the right way. So there are those that are the dependers or dependents. People that are solely trusting in our Lord. Solely trusting in our Lord. We have this movie up there. I don't even know what the name of the movie is. What's the name of that movie where the girl, she's gotten up, it's called The Appointment. It is a pretty good movie, The Appointment. And she does her, I thought it would be cool to do that. Get a television camera, you pretend you're Channel 8, you go down there and you ask people, how do you get to heaven? And she wanted to check it out for herself. And being a reporter, she was bold as brass to get out there and ask. And the one guy joked around, well, 2 blocks down there, turn left. It was pretty funny. It was pretty funny on how to get to heaven. People had all kinds of bizarre answers to it. But those that have the assurance of salvation are the dependers, or dependents. Those that are dependent. Verses 31 and 32, hath raised him from the dead, and when they heard. So there's a group of people that hear something of the resurrection of the dead. How is it, what this next group of people isn't the ones that did the hearing, but the ones that did the, give me the D word for it, not the people that heard, people that declared it. Who is that person in this point? Paul is the declarer. There are the declarers, the declarers of the gospel, those that are going to tell somebody a gospel tract. On my list I had clip art. I wanted to do, and I still want to do that clip art for Jesus. You don't have to do anything special. to make a rubber stamp, it is, they have different methods today. We use we don't do the original method, which is engraving. We don't do that. Never have done it. We do the step up from that. Anybody know what photopolymer is? Photopolymer. It's a goo that cures when it's hit with ultraviolet or certain kind of light. And you block out wherever you don't want the light to hit. It dissolves, it hardens certain areas and keeps the others soft. So once that surface hardens and it sets for a certain amount of time, then you take it to the Sonny does it. Your dad does it. You wash out the excess. You have a rubber stamp. It's called. And it's done with photopolymer. Well, with clip art, it would be the same. You don't have to format anything on the computer. All you do is just go get a clip art book from the library. They have clip art, cartoons. They have real nice clip art. They have all different kinds. Let's just get archaic and go to the. Some of those books you can't even take out. You cannot take out clip art book out of the library, but you could Xerox out of that. You just Xerox that. You Xerox it on a special vellum paper, like some kind of a see-through type paper that permits the light to be permitted through and not permitted through wherever there's Xeroxing, and this black Xerox, how it takes, and then just clip art, and just put clip art on your envelopes or clip art. If people look at that, and name some clip art would indicate that you're a Christian. I don't care if you're ecumenical on this. What would indicate? A cross. That would work. Give me another one. The fish. Okay. We'll buy that. The fish. Now I did a piano for Molly. That's not going to do it.
A dove or an empty tomb.
Oh, a dove. That's a good one. The cross, the fish, the dove, an empty tomb, and they do make it detailed enough, and it would show up on a rubber stamp. Oh, a Bible. I didn't even think of that. Look at. See when we put our heads together. See how far we go. Huh? A what? Yeah, I did say a cross. That was my second one. That was a cross. A cross. Different styles of crosses. A crown of thorns. That's another good one. Didn't even think of that. That's at least 5 right there. And that with that clip art, where you don't even have to be the artist. All you got to do is just go down the library, Xerox. It's got to be a hard, fast, black and white. It can't be a fuzzy black and white. Hard, fast, crisp, real crisp. And then we Xerox it onto the paper. The paper goes in the machine. They block it off. They pour the goo in. They set the timer. They hit the timer. And then it cooks it. Cooks it for a few seconds. I forget how long it is. Depends on the temperature. Depends on the season. There's some variables in there. And then he washes it off. Then we just mount it. And there's ink. And the ink pad comes up and it flips. And boom, boom. Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
A church?
Boy, you little rascal. Number 6, a church. That's a good one. Never thought of it. Yeah.
Came to mind to me, praying hands.
Praying hands. Boy, you guys you're too smart for me. Now listen, that's almost one for half of the church. One for everybody for half the church right there of what's here in attendance tonight. But you would then become also a declarer. It's just not Paul declaring. Anybody who's online, who's doing the videos, whatever it is that you can do to declare to somebody else, putting that thing in an envelope, a track in an envelope, just put a track in a phone booth.
Your sign is
I
black.
know, I just had to say
Your
that.
sign is black and white.
Oh, the sign is black and white?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we were sure. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to bring that up. I said last night, I was reading off the list, and the sign ministry was not on the list, is we need to make some signs. And the wife said, well, they're not going now. Why aren't the signs going now? There is a reason.
No one knows.
Okay, I'll give you that. That's not the answer I'm looking for. No one knows. If you pull all the signs out here, there's only 2 or 3 different ones in there. Nobody wants those. All right? Nobody's hot and hungry to take that sign and put it in their yard. We have the wrong signs. I'm not saying those are the wrong signs, but how many of those signs can you put out? So we need to create some new signs. And we need to do it pretty soon, because what is going to happen to the vinyl? Listen, folks, this vinyl costs for a roll $225. It might be close to $300 a roll now. If I got a red one, a blue one, a white one, and a black one, if it's $250 a roll, how much? We got $1,000 wrapped up into it. Now the church didn't buy it. I personally bought it. There's $1,000. What's going to happen to it? Maybe it's already too late. What happens to it?
Aging is fine for cheese, but not vinyl.
It's fine for cheese, but not vinyl. It's okay if it's on the sign. It's already been cut, placed on there. That vinyl will last forever. If you care for the sign and don't abuse it, it will last forever. But now if it gets too old on the roll, now it's tough to peel. It's tough to do. And so we need to have a session where we want to use the roll up. Use the roll up. But you would become a declarer for those that have heard of the resurrection of the dead. That is a group of people that you could say is a subgroup of saved people, because not all saved people are witnessing. Not all saved people are really declarers. They should be. Salt of the earth and the light of the world. The resurrection, it said some mocked. So I've taken the some mocked, and when they heard of the resurrection of the dead, some mocked. I've divided this into 2 groups. There are of the group, this one group, there are some that are just, maybe that would be the all of them. In other words, they take on two forms. One group, they are deniers. No way, man. Resurrection of the dead, no way, not happening. I told you the story of how as a little boy I believed in the resurrection and believed in life after death. Did anybody remember my little story about how I believed? And I did this little experiment of how to believe in life after death. Anybody remember? I collected, what kind of insects did I collect? Let's go and say it out loud, Dave. I collected butterflies. I had this butterfly. Folks, we had a lot of butterflies back then. Where did they all go? DDT? I don't know.
Monsanto took care of it.
Well, they like certain trees. They like certain weeds. They like certain...
Milkweed.
Certain weeds. Now, that's only a certain one. Now, remember, I'm the collector.
Water.
So I know what I'm talking about. Certain weeds, certain trees, certain leaves, certain areas have different ones than others. Well, I got an abundance of these suckers. And it could have been a tiger swallowtail. The zebra swallowtail is the toughest to catch, man. That sucker is fast. I only caught 2 in my lifetime. I think I've only seen 2 in my lifetime. But man, we ran for that thing forever. Anyway, it's an insect. I took that tiger swallowtail, I took it out to the field, and we mowed grass every day because we just couldn't keep up with it. We didn't have the mowers they have today. And I took a clump of grass and I said, God, if you really exist, you're going to take this butterfly to heaven. I've told you that story. You don't remember it? Well, good. I can repeat a story. I know I told it. I covered it over with dead grass. And I said, God, if you're alive, you'll take that butterfly to heaven. You'll take it to heaven. So I went, had my dinner, went to bed, and I woke up in the morning. It was a beautiful sunny day, summer day, and I said, well, I'm going to go. I ran out there to check to see if that butterfly was gone. What was left? Say it out, G-Man. You got it. There you go. The youngest lad in the building remembers the story. All that was left were the wings. And I thought to myself, well, he doesn't need wings in heaven. And God took the body of that caterpillar and took it to heaven. I believed ever since. Well, what happened to the insect?
Worms.
Worms? Well, you're close. Ants and worms came in. Huh? Well, there were no worms and ants there by that time. It was gone. But all that was left were the wings, man. I was not a denier. Too bad there's all kinds of adults that are deniers, man. Some mock it. Not only are they deniers, but they are demeanors. Some mocked. They will demean this verbally. If we're downtown and we're going to be drawing, you could be drawing, and the next thing you find out, somebody throws something at you. Mockers. Or they'll make fun of you. Don't think that doesn't happen. You know, we've been downtown a lot. When we go to that Oktoberfest, that beer blast, what do they call that? I don't even know if they do it down there anymore. But we were at Fagan's bar, and we'd be diagonal of that, man. You got every creature from here to Timbuktu down there, screaming and yelling and demeaning the Lord as you're preaching. That we were always taught that you put in between yourself if you're preaching here. Now, I anticipate being alone when I do this. If I do it in the summer and draw down there, I anticipate being alone. I don't anticipate getting attacked. There's too many phones out there. If somebody wants to attack me, they're just going to take pictures. The guy's going to jail, and if they kill me, I'm going to heaven. As we were taught that if you're preaching, you stand, one stands here, one stands there, because you could get attacked, and you get between the attacker and the preacher. You get in, you step in between. Now, I don't know if anybody's working down there, but we used to go down there, and then we decided to kind of buzz out of there because there was another church there was a Canton church up in there, and they were working. So we don't work other people's turf. But I don't think anybody's down there working it now. But folks, there are demeanors. And they want to demean the Lord. They mock. This is another group. The gospel divides these people into groups. Verse 32. And others said this, we will hear thee again of this matter. So give me the D word for them. They're willing to put this on hold. They are delayers. We'll delay our decision. You know what? This raising from the dead is pretty interesting. Name off some other interesting topics. You know, there's the mystery of Oak Island. You know, it's one of these dumb programs, and they're always digging deeper. They're down 100 or 200 feet looking for Captain Kidd's treasure. I don't know what they're looking for. Right? Name off some other things. There's area what? What area is that out in Arizona? Is that Area 51? You know, I told you I saw the person with the lit up shoes at night, and the first thing out of the mouth of the one I tell him, he said, when did you see those flying saucers? And, you know, delayers. They delay. Boy, that's an interest. You know, that's kind of interesting about this thing about the resurrection, but we'll put it off. I'll hear you again next week if you're still around. And they put it off, and usually those that put it off, then it becomes too late. The delayers. There are people that delay this. Now, to say that all of them are going to go to hell, only for those that never accept Christ. But you could delay, but you can't delay forever, right? Because one day there's a day of reckoning. The delayers, they put it off. The great putter-offers. People put off all kinds of things. Getting up in the morning, getting a job, getting a skill. They delay. Delayers are those that ventured out in a covered wagon, the wagon train, and, well, they fell a little bit behind, they caught up. They fell a little behind, they caught up. Then they just couldn't get out of bed one day, and they couldn't keep up with the wagon train. And then who ends up getting them? The Sioux or the Arapaho or the Pawnee? And they catch up to them. And their delay put them in a bad situation. And all you got is a burned out covered wagon along the way. But there are those that delay this. They put it off. I'll go to church tomorrow. the delayers. Verse 33, Paul did his work. And this is our next D word. In verse 33, Paul departed from among them. He parts company. So there are the departers. The grass is all, we'll say, now the grass is always greener. Why did he depart? He's an evangelist. He left to go preach to, he said, my work is done here in preaching. I'm going to go preach now. And this is what Paul was called to do. There are people who are departers, and we're not saying that's a bad thing. We're saying in Paul's case, that's what he was. He went to go now preach to another group. Wherever the assignment took him, departers, take him to another place. And man, now just imagine traveling around. The wife and I, we don't travel. And when we do, I tell you, we need extra special help from our kids to get us the plane tickets, to get us on the plane, to get us off the plane, to direct us over to where you rent the car. I mean, we do have a problem. Now just imagine traveling back then. It would have been, I think, a little, I don't know if it would have been easier or not, but whatever the mode was, I think it was a little easier. Maybe it's easier than I think, but boy, it sure seems hard traveling today. We traveled, we had half the grade kids were with us, and Missy was organizing. Everybody seems to know what's going on but me, you know. And what did Lillian do? What did she leave? She put it in an airport. Say it out loud. Her bag. She had a backpack or some kind of a pack. They put it down. I mean, I'm just, if the plane's arriving and we have to get on the plane in 2 hours. Well, I don't even have time to go to the bathroom. I got to get this on this plane. So I am waiting. I'm holding onto this ticket. I can't, if I drop this ticket, it's the end of the world. I'm holding onto this ticket for dear life. Lillian, they went and got a taco. I don't know what they went. They get a taco. They don't come back. Now boarding, and where are they? And then we find out Lillian doesn't have her backpack. Now, what don't you leave in an airport today? Now, when Mother found out that she left the backpack someplace, there was no small stir. You know, because you're going to have, what do you call the Gestapo? What do you call
TSA.
it? The TSA come down. They're going to shut the airport down. And somebody's going to be in trouble because they're going to open up that backpack and they're going to find out who it belongs to, right? Well, they had got, where's the backpack, Lillian? And so they went and got the bag. They got the backpack. The TSA wasn't called. We weren't in handcuffs, and et cetera, et cetera. And we did get on the plane. But there are those that are departers, and they move on. They depart from whatever method. In our case, it could be a different method. Well, we'll try drawing, or we try the signs, enhance that again, or we try the rubber stamps, or we go back to door, or we enhance the billboards. As soon as service is over, we are going to the drive-in theater. The drive-in theater is open. Anybody know where it is?
North Olmsted.
North Olmsted. No, we go right up here to the gas station at the top of the hill here. We go through the park, we go up to the gas station, we do a U-E, we pull in there, and we sit there and we watch the scroll go through the billboard because we're going to see, we do it all the time just to watch the billboard come up. And lately, the wife said, you better check and see. I don't think we have artwork like that. I think they're taking the liberty to change the artwork without our permission. They must have misunderstood us. They're running the same stuff, but they're not running the same stuff. We want to make sure it's King James. And if they did take the liberty, and if it's King James and they made and tweaked this and that, I hope they're having fun doing it. I said to the wife, you better check that. I said, you better be happy I got the women's washroom fixed yesterday. We'll start with that. I'll call them in the morning. I'll call Lamar in the morning. Anyway, there are the departers. Those that depart from what they were doing and they move on to the next group. The next group that will, listen, if we could set up right in the middle of Bedford. There are people that set up in the middle of Bedford. Who's setting up in the middle of Bedford? 2 letters. I can't hear you. The JWs, they're set up there in the middle of Bedford. The departers. Verse 34, howbeit certain men clave unto him. So we have to go with the thought that there is now another group. Remember, we're talking about different groups. Of everything that happened, certain ones clave unto him, stuck to him. These are the deciders. People who make up their minds. It's either yea or nay. Don't you just hate it when you ask a yes? I ask definitive questions. Yea or nay. Now, in a court of law, is that a good thing to do for an attorney or not a good thing? That may not be a good thing to do. If you're a public defender or a county prosecutor, they're probably coached in what kind of questions to ask. What do they want? If they're after this person, the last way they want them to answer is yay or nay. They don't want them to answer yay or nay. They want them to get their flapper going. Man, then the twisting and turning is going on, man. And then if that attorney didn't catch it, when he gets back, when he recessed a little bit, his partner whispers over, now listen, they said this, that, and the other. Get them. Go get them. Wherever the flapper took them. But there are people who are definitive type people. If you take the stand, what kind of answer should you give? Was it dark? Well, at the moment you say well, it's either yes or no. Be definitive. There are groups of people who are deciders. They clave under Paul. They believed. They were deciders. Make a decision. Make a decision. If people are reluctant to make the choice, God in the end will make the choice for you. Boom. He hits the button for the chute, down you go. Too late. The deciders. There is a group of people that do make decisions. The decisions, in this case, the decision is the right decision. And last of all, what and this is our last point, defines this person that made this decision. There's something that makes this definitive decider a certain kind of a person. It defines them, the definers, and that is they believed, and they're named off by name. And it says, and there were others, and gives some of the names. They believed. It defined who they were. Gave a clear definition of their decision was based upon belief. People really break up into different groups. Here in the salt shaker, we probably have people that are different. We have boys, girls, men, women. You got 4 groups right there. We got different nationalities, different ethnic groups, different ways of being raised, and so on. Different ways of interpreting the Bible. And the Bible is black and white. Somebody's right and somebody's wrong. But man, when you get out in the world, and you have all these different groups, and there's tons of them, in this kind of, the gospel is the mechanism that's really going to sort out all kinds of different people. Ultimately then, as we use all these D words, ultimately, what are the 3 groups? The Jew, the Greek, and the church. Those are the 3 main groups. And the Bible states that. It's at the end of 2 Corinthians or one of those books. The Jew, the Greek, and the church shake hands before leaving.